This guide is for controller and PC. Everything shown on PC can be done on controller, and I have footage of both later on. Timestamps if you want to learn something specific, or keep watching to learn everything. So you want to learn how to play Blight. Well, you came to the right place as I'm the #1 Blight player on console. Blight is, in my opinion, the most fun killer playing Dead by Daylight. Crazy fast, super sweaty, and he's a juicing pinball. So forget all the strategy BS and become
Speed. I am speed.
But yo, why they cook Star with the Rize skin?
I'd let her stick her tentacles in me.
So the Blight is fast, like really fast. Fast like me in bed. If base movement speed is 4.6 meters per second, then this is at least 4.7, maybe 4.71. Bro is running like he stole a whole generator. But if you're more of a situational learner, then imagine how girls run from you when you try to get their number. By default, you get 5 rushes, but you can only attack after bumping. More like slamming into a wall like an idiot. In a rush, you can only turn 90 degrees. This is essential to know if... Wait, what? This is essential to know if you want to master this killer. When you swing, you can only turn 90 degrees. So combine that with a 90-degree pre-turn, and boom, you could 180. Geography, baby. But you probably can't do that all that well because you clicked on my brain rot video. So let me break this down so a little gamer like you can understand. So first things first is to crank your sensitivity to max, on console anyway. On PC I use 5 in-game sense and a stupid high DPI. I don't know what it is though, it's just blue on my mouse. That's all I know, don't judge me. Anyway, since now you're a Minecraft bow on ice, let's get into the fun shit, how to flick.
Let's do this.
Most people think you could swing then turn, but this isn't the case. If you do this, you'll turn loose like Bonnie Blue's. The flick, wait what? The trick, not the flick, what? The trick is to flick in the direction you want to turn right before you swing, and then you'll turn tight like Rize's. In this example, I do no pre-turn and I turn very wide. But in this example, I add a little bit of pre-turn, and as you can see, it makes a way sexier and tight flick. Blight has 3 basic flicks, the shoulder, 90, and the sexy 180 flick. To do a 90 flick, you want to flick left or right in a lethal rush. A shoulder flick is when you touch the other player. In game though.
Unfortunately, I know.
So once you're close enough, you'll feel yourself slip off them, and that's when you swing left or right to get a hit. This works because for the first few frames of Blight's swing, he has a thick Brazilian model's ass hitbox that can hit someone right behind him.
God, can Rize sit on me?
Now for the hardest out of his 3 basic flicks is the 180. So let's say you want a 180 around this car, for example. You need to know when to pre-turn. Do this too late and you won't get the hit. Do this too early and you'll bump into the car, wall, or whatever you're trying 180 around. So you want to edge. A little bit before you finish. A little before you get to the end of the object, you want to start your pre-turn. And once the very moment you reach your maximum turning point, then you swing and then continue to turn to land the 180. Little tip I found is to use the same weapon cosmetic when learning. The weapon is kind of how I gauge objects on when to start my pre-turn. The weapon is a constant on your screen, so you can use it almost like a portable ruler. You know those things the centimeters use to measure a tiny cop? What the fuck? Oh my god, this is where it gets super confusing. So many add-ons to choose from, it gets very overwhelming. Which 2 do I pick? You just pick the 2 that make you run faster. Yep. Okay, there are other add-on combinations you can use, but Della Speed is by far the best. Anyways, here's a few good ones. Eerie Blight Tag and Shredded Notes. This combo makes it you can move an additional plus 10% speed, and your maximum turn angle gets increased by 20 degrees. So you can get extremely clean 180s. Downside is you only have 3 rushes. But with Shredded Notes, each token comes back 0.33 seconds faster. So tighter flicks and basically instant tokens. Compound 33 in Alchemist Ring is Sniper Blight. Makes it for each rush, your turn rate is increased by 11% and rush duration is increased by 11%. And with Alchemist Ring, for each rush, duration is increased by 20%, so cross maps become effortless. And last but not least, Adrenaline Vial and Eerie Blight Tag creates possibly the strongest version of Blight, Drift King Blight. Don't ever run this combo, it's genuinely stupid. Just run double speed. This is where you could choose based on what your playstyle is. I run BAM with lethal and that's it. No joke, 9% of the time I only use 2 perks. But sometimes I'm feeling a little bit extra, I add barbecue and brutal. But you can pick whatever. Blight is so strong you can have a brain dead build and it'll work. Assuming you're not brain dead. So with the removal of the hug tech, you need to know bump logic. Nah, hold up, bro. I'm so mad they removed the hug tech. I remember back in 2020s and being oiled up by Diddy to slide around the map. Baby, if you're listening, I'll be such a good boy. Just please add it back, please. So bump logic is bumping off the right objects to secure a hit. After Blight's collision rework, he'll bump into most things, probably as intended. But he can still slide off some things, but it's not like before. The general rule is from your knees to your head and both your shoulders is what you can bump. If an object only touches your feet, you'll slide. Now, this is where bump logic comes into play. With one rush from ability and the other 4 you can hit, you want to bump off the right objects to guarantee hits. Now, you may be asking, how do I know which objects are the right ones?
Shut up, you worm.
Play the game. Yep, it's that easy. You'll get a feel for Blight's speed and how to beat survivors to pallets and windows. Every tile is played slightly different, so you'll just need to get the feel. But try to bump up objects in the loop and not rely on objects outside the loop. Because depending on the map, there's nothing, or it's so far away you lose distance by the time you get back. The more you play Blight, the more you'll understand bump logic. It just comes with practice. Try to get hits with as many bumps as you need. 180s look sexy as shit, but with proper bump logic, you can land a way safer hit and get a 90. Shoulder bumping is super easy, but something advanced Blight players will do a lot. It helps keep line of sight on survivors and will help you set up your next bump or hit. To do this, all you need to do is edge. Right before you bump into an object, you need to flick left or right to shoulder bump. You can completely throw off survivors with red stain mind games in a rush. In slam duration, you can hide your red stain, then quickly rush in a direction to catch survivors off guard. Something you can also do is a dizzy tech. In slam duration, flicking left and right will confuse survivors in which direction you'll go, and then quickly commit to a direction and then give them no time to react. Now, a tech that you could do that is kind of hard, but easy once you learn, is the V1 tech. It's similar to a Wesker hug tech, but for Blight, obviously. So you start on one edge of an object, and then as you're passing over to the other side, you rush, and you'll bump, and your momentum will be carried, so now you're on the other side. This works on thin objects like trees, but you can also do this on corners. You'll most likely not get a hit from this, but it beautifully sets up your next hit. If you swing too much towards the pallet while survivors vaulting the pallet, the game will always break the pallet and not hit the survivor. It's dumb, I know. But you can get around this. If you angle yourself correctly, you can clip the edge of their hitbox and land a hit. But they need to be on the same side of the pallet as you. This can be very difficult to perfect, but just don't be boosted. How to not get spun. Don't suck. Okay, I'm kidding. Kinda. So Blight has a huge hitbox for a few frames at the start of his attack. So if you rush at a survivor and Blight's hitbox touches the survivor, flick super hard left or right and it'll hit the survivor even if they're not on your screen. But if the survivor spins or just moves in a way you can't touch their hitbox, then rush past them and bump into a close by wall, and in slam duration, pop a 180 and rush right back at them. Do this as fast as you can so it gives them less time to react. Doing this once or even twice super fast makes it very hard for a survivor to spin you. Also, when a survivor runs along a straight wall, like Shaq for example, they may hug the wall side and act like they'll round the corner, but last minute turn in the opposite direction. So wait like a half second longer than you normally would to swing, so you can see if they'll round the corner or go in the opposite direction. Welp, you made it to the end of the video. Hope you liked it or learned something, but you probably clicked off or lost a shit ton of brain cells. I've never done an outro before, so I guess yeah, I guess like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah, okay, this is awkward, so bye-bye.